Today we're checking out the Docan Energy Panda. It's a 624-pound battery. But how much does a Panda actually weigh? So Google says 280 pounds. So this thing weighs the same as 2 full-size Pandas. But this company, Docan Energy, I reviewed another battery from them, and it was one of the worst batteries I ever reviewed. It had like 10 problems on it. So hopefully this one's actually better. Now the total capacity of this battery is 32 kilowatt hours, and it has a 200 amp BMS, which is pretty limited for its capacity compared to the competition. The Yixiang 32 kilowatt hour battery, for example, outputs 300 amps. And server rack batteries output 500 to 600 amps for this capacity. So if you have a 12,000 watt inverter, for example, you're going to need 2 of these batteries. It's somewhat limited in that regard. Now this battery does have some strange shipping damage. The wheels were rubbing on the pallet in a way where it ground themselves down and it made them lumpy. So when I try to roll this around my shop, it will bounce up and down because the wheels are not round. And there was a pile of rubber shavings at the bottom of the pallet. So they really need to support this box when they ship it, unless every single one will probably have this issue. Now, because their other battery had the worst build quality ever, we're going to open this one up and see if there's any glaring obvious issues before we test it. It actually has an inductor, so it probably can limit the current. Supply lines are covered, that's good. We have a lot of loose, unsecured wires. And what is this? This is so messy. And these are looped up in a bundle? What is going on here? It doesn't hurt functionality, but this is not what you want to see inside of a battery. Especially ribbon cables just floating about like this. They are protecting the balance leads with sleeves, but yeah, this is unacceptable. On this battery, the BMS and the active balance board are separate, which means you have more balance leads going out to the cells, which means there's more likelihood of something going wrong. The active balance board should be built into the BMS board, so you only have 16 leads going out to the cells. Also, these wires are not secure and they're pretty messy. Main supply conductors seem very tight. More loose wires on this side, not a good sign. It would be so easy to secure these wires down to this plate. I don't know why they don't do it. Now on the first battery they sent me, the cells actually bent the steel, but this one looks like there's a lot more support for the cells. Temperature sensor is glued to the cell, but it's better to have it attached to the bus bar with a potted ring terminal. Between the 2 cells, there's a bend in the bus bar for expansion and contraction, which is good. So definitely an improvement from the last one, but still very messy. Now we have the Panda connected to a system and we're charging with 200 amps. And the interface is really nice. Like the pixel density, this is next level. Usually battery screens look like a Game Boy Color, but this one actually looks pretty nice. It says we're charging with 200 amps, we have 50% state of charge, and this is our total capacity. And then you can swipe and it will show you the cell voltages, the temperature, and also the communication protocol. If this is incorrect, you just go right here, select protocol, and then you have a list of inverters that this actually is compatible with. So for this one, we're gonna do lux power and right, and it also has a dark mode, which is really nice. And then this button is unusable, it does nothing. Now this button shows you information about this battery and other batteries you have attached to it. So this one, if you press down, is empty, but you can actually have other batteries connected and monitor them from a single screen. And then the last one, it says that we're doing overcurrent because we're going barely over 200 amps. So let's lower this below 200 and see if it corrects. Now we're charging with 190 amps and there's no more alarm state. So unfortunately, I'm having some issues. I established communication with the inverter and it was easy and it worked in seconds. But then I noticed that it was limiting the current. Previously, it was doing 200 amps and now it's down to 96 amps. So I connected the app and it shows that 0 amps are going in. And I thought, hey, that's weird. This must be the wrong battery. So I checked the number on the back of the battery and this is in fact correct. It's just all wrong. The voltage is wrong, the state of charge is wrong, and the current shows 0 amps. Also under the fault data, there's lots of alarm states, but not on this one. Right now it shows that there's 0. But for this one, which doesn't even have a full cycle on it, it shows over voltage protection was triggered. How is that even possible? And it shows undercell voltage. That never happened because I never cycled it. Also, the current fluctuates. Sometimes it goes down like 5 amps for no reason. But on here it shows 0 amps, so this is totally wrong. So to continue this test, we're going to disable communication so we can get around this current limit because I have no way of changing it. Also, the app asked for my location, and I don't understand why a battery app would ask for that. I do not like that. So we're going to disconnect this cable, set it to lead acid battery. Now it should work. And we're charging with 197 amps. Oh, that's weird. The charge and discharge current limit that magically appeared when I set up communication is back, but check this out. We are exceeding it and it's not doing anything. And we don't have any alarm codes. That is very strange, but it's working, so let's continue the test. So I found a newer version of the app and it's even worse. And they can't even spell voltage on the menu. And more of the numbers are correct, but it doesn't show any capacity. So again, it's still not working. I did reset the BMS and I did get this light to turn on, which is cool. But we still have that 100 amp charge limit I can't fix. There's not a single setting in here that shows 100 amps, so I just don't understand why it's doing this. And on the main page, we're getting zeros across the board for current, voltage, and state of charge. And this was after it said connection successful. And the version is the latest one, so I don't even know what to do anymore. But we got the green light working, that's cool. So we're gonna run it like it's a lead acid battery and just ignore the app and ignore communication. I can't get it to work. Now we're officially at 100% state of charge with a high voltage disconnect. So we can disconnect the chargers. Now time for the ultimate load test. We're gonna dump all this energy into an electric vehicle. So here's the Tesla charger. And we're pulling exactly 200 amps. And the battery says 75. I'm noticing it takes a long time for this thing to update. Now it's accurate 197 amps. So we'll come back in a few hours and see if it passes the test. Now the test is almost over, but I found a new bug. The screen state of charge does not match this one sometimes. This one was always accurate, this green bar, but the state of charge on the screen actually jumped up to 90% state of charge when it was at 6. And then it would randomly correct itself for no reason, so I'm not sure why it did that. Now the test is done, so we're gonna charge at 200 amps, back up to 100%. So first plug it in, and now we're charging, so let's see how much current. Now the screen says 184, but on the meter it says 196. So again, it's a bit off. So we'll come back in a few hours and see what happens. I caught it! So I finally caught it. It showed 1%, and now we're at 99.96%. The last few times I couldn't get it on camera, so it's really weird. But yeah, it just does that randomly. So we're gonna roll this over to my capacity tester. We're gonna see if we can get a disconnect and graph it, and we'll see the true capacity. So let's get started. Now we're gonna do a capacity test, and we can almost do a 0.2 C rate. With this machine, we can pull 90 amps, so it'll take about 6 hours. So we'll come back tomorrow and see what the results are. So it took all night, but we have results. We're at 651 amp hours. We didn't get a single disconnect, which is fantastic. Now time to charge up again. Now for the final test, we're charging the 200 amps to full and then seeing if anything overheats. So I figured out the state of charge tracking issue. It just takes a really long time to update the state of charge. Sometimes it can be 30 seconds, sometimes it can be a few minutes. Same with the current reading, because right now I've had a consistent amount of current going into the battery, and after a few minutes it will update, but it can take some time. I wonder if this active balancer even turns on. It's buzzing, so it's doing something. And after testing every lead, there's 0 amps going through it, which is good. You only want it turning on at high state of charge. Also, the buzzing is not this board. It's actually the screen. I have to put my ear like right next to it. Yeah, that thing is noisy, wow. Charging is almost done and the light finally turned on. 0 amps, 0, 0, 0, 0. It's not balancing, that's strange. Guess the voltage differential of the cells is not great enough to start balancing. But the light is on for some reason. I'm not sure why, I can't find the manual, but it's on. These are not equal length conductors. I wonder if there's different amounts of current going through them. 53, 50. 48, 45. So there's a difference, but it's not that extreme. And it's the same exact temperature as when I started the test, so nothing is rising in temperature. It's actually working pretty well. We're at 99% state of charge and we're still at a 0.08 voltage differential, so these cells are matched perfectly. Functionally, it works really well if you don't connect it to the app and you don't use communication. It's a little laggy on the software, but all the tests are passing. And the cells are matched very nicely, like crazy good. But it's so messy. This wiring is ridiculous. Why did they do this? But this is a massive improvement over the first one they sent out, that's for sure. I think it's done. And again, the screen is lagging. Come on, come on. It takes like a minute for this thing to update. Here we go, now we're getting some change. 20 seconds after the disconnect for it to update. Sometimes it's a minute, sometimes it's 1 second, you never know. Now the main competitor of this battery is the Yixiang. It has the same capacity as the Panda, but the Yixiang has a 300 amp BMS and the Panda has a 200 amp BMS. Also, the Panda seems a lot cheaper at first, but you have to pay for shipping, and that's $639. So the total cost of the Panda is $3,169, and the Yixiang is $3,499. So the Panda is actually cheaper. But which one would I choose? This one has thick, flexible copper bus bars. It can handle more current, and the build quality is better. You don't have 2 conductors going to every bus bar. You have potted ring terminals for the temperature sensor. This one is a wiring mess, and the software is awful, and the BMS app is horrible, and the screen is buggy, and it's slow. But they're batteries. If it works, it works. If you don't connect communication on this one, it worked just fine. Now, even if you take the wheels off the Panda, it's taller. Also, you cannot stack it because of this massive handle. With the Yixiang, you can stack them up, and it will have a much smaller footprint. Imagine having 3 of these Pandas side by side versus 3 of these stacked in a corner. That's a massive difference. Now the Panda is a step in the right direction, but they have some work to do, especially with the software. So even though it's cheaper than the Yixiang, I would absolutely get the Yixiang any day. But I think they're going to improve this on the next iteration, have a 300 amp BMS, which they said they're going to have. And then for the price, it might be nice. But if you want to stack them, or if you're constrained on current, you need to step it up to something like this. So this battery was a fantastic step in the right direction. The first one they sent out was plain dangerous. The steel support bars were actually bending and crushing the cells. It was horrible. And the Panda seems super strong, but it has a lot of areas for improvement. First, the wire management is atrocious. Next, the app does not work for me at all. Next, if you connect communication, you'll have a bunch of problems, limited current, and I had disconnects. But when I disconnected communication, everything worked great. So functionally, for my capacity test and the cell voltage differential, it was fantastic. And nothing inside heated up. It actually worked really well. Now, the most annoying part was the screen. It was so laggy. It's the best looking screen with the most pixel density out there, but it takes a long time to refresh the current, the capacity, and everything else. Now the Panda comes ready built. It's not a DIY battery like the Yixiang, but if you're planning to stack the batteries and you don't have a forklift, a DIY battery might be a better choice. Unless you have a forklift like I do. But if you don't, you're probably gonna have to build them into place. And the Yixiang can stack, and that saves a lot of space. Next, for this capacity of battery, I think the BMS should be larger. A 200 amp BMS on a 34 kilowatt hour battery is crazy. For the same capacity with server rack batteries, you would have 600 amps of output. So keep this in mind when you're designing your system. It's limited on current. Now they could solve all of these problems if they had good wire management and they swapped out the BMS for something better. That would fix like 99% of the issues. Also have a stackable model if people want to do that. And I think this company can do it. If they improve so much over the last one, I think they can fix all of these issues and have a pretty good battery. But for now, it's just not there yet. And that's pretty much it for this video. I hope you liked it, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.